A thief is going to go, fuck, that has that bar across the wheel. There's 10 other cars that don't have that. Let's go to there. And the cops are the same way. Once you start invoking your rights, they're going to be like, fuck. Maybe I'll just go, I'll go on to the next guy who doesn't know this and make it easier on me.
Soil to the Oil Media, this is the Cannabis Detector with your host and California cannabis industry expert, Kristen Yoder.
Okay, hello my Cannabis Detectors. Today I have a very special guest, Mr. Mark Wasserman of the Pot Brothers at Law. Oh, and his brother. Well, is Craig going to be joining us today?
I'm here.
Cool, awesome. I have the Pot Brothers at Law today, and we're going to talk about the bullshit ways cops can still fuck with you in a recreational market. Whether or not it's legal doesn't really matter when it comes to the cops, right?
That is correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So why don't you guys do a quick intro of you, even though I'm sure most people already know who you are?
Sure. I'm Mark. My brother Craig is here. We're the Pot Brothers at Law. We've been collectively practicing law for over 50 years, handling criminal defense, cannabis, compliance, licensing, regulations, helping people with cannabis businesses, getting them off the ground, and representing citizens who get screwed over by the cops. And as you already mentioned with the Shut the Fuck Up, one of the things that we do is teach people how to deal with law enforcement when they get pulled over. And our basic script, which includes 25 words, the only 25 words you say to the cops when they pull you over, and then ultimately when they ask questions, you just shut the fuck up, because you're not going to help yourself. You're going to incriminate yourself. You're going to help the cops fuck you over.
So for everyone that might not know the script, what is the script?
The script, that's the only 25 words you say when cops pull you over. So when they first come up on you, it's important to know that they have to establish why they stopped you. They've got a few minutes to do that. And more often than not, the cop will say right away, do you know why I pulled you over? Because they want you to immediately admit, oh, I ran a red light, or whatever the case may be. And your response is, this is the beginning of the script, why did you pull me over? Then they have to tell you why. And then they have to get on about their business and give you a ticket or let you go within about 7 or 8 minutes. If they find independent probable cause, within that 7 or 8 minutes, they can detain you and potentially search. And so your goal as the driver is to just get a ticket. When the cop then asks you other questions like, where are you coming from? Where are you going? What's that smell? Have you had anything to drink? No matter what he says, you're going to politely say, I'm not discussing my day. And then when they keep badgering you and threatening you and trying to scare you, and remember, cops can lie, they can say whatever they want to get you to talk. And no matter what they say, you're going to say, am I being detained or am I free to go? Then the cop has a decision to make. Is he going to write you a ticket, or is he going to say you're detained, get out of the car? If he says you're detained, get out of the car, then you get out, your windows are rolled up, you lock the doors, you close it off, and then you say, I invoke the fifth. And then when they continue to ask questions, you shut the fuck up. And that's the script.
You know, anyone who's ever watched Law and Order, should know better. Hello, the cops can't do shit. Any cop show out there, the people always, talk to the cops, and then they get in trouble. And anytime they don't, and then the cops are like, oh, great, he's going to call his lawyer. That's, the whole point. They can't fuck you if you don't fuck yourself, unless you already fucked yourself in a different way. But, talking-wise, if you just shut the fuck up, it's such an easy idea. But I gotta say, I've been through a DEA raid, and I was stuck with those guys for 3 hours, and I said a lot of shit. I talked shit to them. I did not talk about the business. They weren't really concerned with me or anything. They were just there as a fuck you to Obama. The day Eric Holder took office as Attorney General, they raided 5 dispensaries in Venice. And the only thing on their search warrant was cannabis is a federally illegal drug. And that was it. And they didn't charge anyone. And they didn't do anything other than take everything. But, it can be hard. It can be hard to to shut the fuck up, which is why your script is so amazing, because it gives you the upper hand. And I've read your posts online on social media where people have started the script and the cops are like, oh, yeah, I'm not fucking with this. Like, never mind, dude, you're free to go. Like, obviously, you know your rights, so we're not even going to deal with you.
People, this is Big Brother. People have to remember that when you get pulled over, if there was something to arrest you on that they observed, that they're going to arrest you.
Yeah.
If talking to you, that means they don't have anything or enough to arrest you or detain you.
That's very important.
Remember that.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough standing there or sitting there, and they're standing there, and they're big, and they're tall, and they're intimidating.
They got the guns.
But that's why this script we came up with, and the easiest was like, you know, we get people in a bar and say, hey, if the cop asks you how many drinks did you have, what do you say? And they'll go, blah, 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 blah. They've had like 10 drinks. One? No, you don't lie. Well, what do you do then? I'm not going to tell them how many drinks. You're right. That's why we came up with, I'm not discussing my day, sir. That's it. I'm not discussing it.
It's so genius. So do you know, like, do you have any idea of how many people you've saved with the script?
Millions.
It seems like it. It literally seems like so many people are like, I used the script and I totally thought we were going to go to jail, and they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, we get calls and messages every day, so, I mean, it's a lot.
But people have to remember, too, don't lose sight of the fact that using the script won't necessarily prevent you from being arrested.
If you're guilty of something.
Well, no.
No?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean you won't get arrested. They can arrest you for anything. But if you've kept to the script and then you come to us after you get out, 80% of the time, the chances are we're going to be able to get you out of it because you didn't say anything to incriminate. They didn't have enough. But they decided to arrest you anyways.
And do a search.
And then do a search. So we can get everything thrown out of court. If you didn't consent, if you stuck to the script, it does not necessarily mean you won't get arrested. But if you do get arrested, like I said, we're going to be in a much better position to defend the case and help you get it dismissed and the search thrown out if you just shut the fuck up.
And the cops don't have a lot of time to do a bunch of investigations on every single arrest, right? Which is the whole point why you shut the fuck up. It's like, all right, cool, then prove why I'm in here, but I'm not going to give you any help with that.
Correct.
They only have so much work. I know that a lot of cops, you know, as soon as you make arrests, you have to do all the paperwork and everything like that. They're not trying to arrest everybody and do paperwork on everything. So if you make
what they're trying to do is make their job easier by getting you to talk and making it easier for them to do that arrest and prosecute it.
Yeah, exactly.
The less you say, it's like I always say, it's with the devices, anti-theft devices on cars. A thief is going to go, fuck, that has that bar across the wheel. There's 10 other cars that don't have that. Let's go to there. And the cops are the same way. Once you start invoking your rights, they're going to be like, fuck. Maybe I'll go on to the next guy who doesn't know this and make it easier on me.
I have a question because fortunately, besides having handcuffs put on me through that raid, which was like really scary, dude, I don't ever want to go to jail, that's for sure. I'm curious that what if you don't know your lawyer's phone number and you're in jail? Like, do they give you a phone book or something? Because after you shut the fuck up and then you have a phone call, like, how do you know who to call if you didn't remember your lawyer's number?
Yeah. So actually, you don't want to call your lawyer. Your lawyer, unless you have a very special arrangement with your lawyer, that's not who you call. And this is what we teach people, too, in terms of getting ready for a raid or getting arrested.
If they're in the business.
If you're in this business, you have to have somebody who, whether it's your mother, your aunt, your cousin, who's not in the business, who's never going to be getting arrested, who is the go-to person that you're going to call, who has the phone number to the bail bondsman that you're going to use. Because that's the most important thing, is to get that call to the person, hey, I'm arrested, I've been booked at this station, call Bob Drake Bail Bonds and set up the bail so he can get me out. And you want to do that as quickly as possible and have that in place so that you can get bailed out right away from the substation or the holding cell you're in, as opposed to getting transferred to county jail and then you could be in for 24 to 72 hours just going through the loop to get processed and bonded out. So that's how that works. You need to call the designated person who can immediately call the bondsman who can come and bail you out.
So that's important. Anybody in the cannabis industry needs to, memorize their person's phone number, like your mom or whoever you can call, you can trust on to call bail bonds person, and then make sure that that person knows the bail bondsman's phone number. So that's like, after the script, this is the other part. Just like remember that phone number and get yourself out of there, because it looks, I read horror stories all the time where all of a sudden you, in quotes, disappear into the system and you get your court, a few days later. But jail for any amount of time seems sort of traumatic, like not a great place you want to go, especially in LA. I don't know, maybe it's bad everywhere, but LA looks like a freaking nightmare.
You don't want to be transferred to Twin Towers in LA.
Hell no, dude. Hell no. I actually went to an art gallery thing that was right on the other side of the street from Twin Towers, and we were all drinking beer, and the irony was just hard, man. It was crazy. But, so another thing I would like to talk about to have you come on here is people think, a lot of people stupidly voted for Prop 64 because they thought, cannabis should be legal and we shouldn't have to go to jail for this. But to me, legalization is just another form of prohibition, because when you have more laws, that means there are more laws to break. And so, true, you might not get in trouble with specific things, but that doesn't mean that you're free and clear to do whatever you want with cannabis. What are some of the issues you're seeing some of your clients or other people getting in trouble with their assumptions about the nature of the industry changing after legalization?
Well, one of the big problems is travelers. People who are coming here from other states, other countries, they think it's totally legal, because that's all like you said, that's all you see in the media and everywhere else, and on billboards and all over the place. And it's legal for someone 21 and over to have up to an ounce. If you have more than an ounce, it's a misdemeanor. And then you have these visitors who are coming and bringing it back on through LAX or through any airline, which is illegal as well. LAX just came out with their policy that says if you have the requisite amount under the law, they're not going to bother you. But people took that to heart to think, we're getting calls every day. Someone brought 3 pounds, 12 pounds, 100 vape sticks, and they're getting busted for felonies. Plus, even if you have just under an ounce, if you're traveling to another state, when you land, you could get busted over there. And we've gotten cases like that and calls like that from people who left LA with stuff in their bag, and then they get stopped when they land in, Idaho or Virginia or wherever they're at.
I can't help but think, is LAX regretting that yet? Like, how stupid are you guys? Like,
I don't think they care. They did that just because they don't want to deal with the paperwork and the bullshit for some weed.
But how long do you think it's going to last? I feel like I don't think that they're going to have that policy last much longer if all these other airports are like, dude, people keep coming from LA with drugs. What is this? That can't be allowed.
I don't think LAX cares.
Yeah.
LAX doesn't give a shit. All they know is that they're not going to waste their time on an ounce or under.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
That's what their policy is. But, so what? If they get busted flying into Oklahoma, that's their problem.
Yeah. Good point.
I don't think they care. It's not where their focus should be, rightfully so.
Agreed.
It should be on that. But also in the post-Prop 64 era, it really should not even be called legalization, because it's not. Partial decriminalization, maybe. And the biggest thing out of all of it is over-regulation.
Ugh, so true. I always say decriminalization. That's where we should be. It should not be legalized, because it shouldn't be treated like some horrible drug. It shouldn't be a crime in the first place. So what are some of for cannabis business owners that are in the legal market, what are some of the issues they're running into that you're seeing?
Literally, it's getting up and running.
Yeah.
The cost. Previous to this, someone could come into our office for 10, 20, 30 grand, we could set you up with a proper business under the old guidelines, and you'd be up and running, doing well. And now someone comes in and we're like, don't kill the messenger, but do you have 150, 200 grand to do this? And that's not even including us.
Yeah, exactly. That's minimum.
And it's sad. That part's sad. It's all the regulations. I just printed out the 3 sections, 159 pages each. It's giving me a headache of all the minutia and regulations that you have to follow. I mean, 10 pages of a waste management plan. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous. So what people have to do is get out there and support CCHI 2020.
That's the California Industrial Hemp Act.
Cannabis Hemp Initiative.
Which completely gets rid of the entire penal code section on cannabis law.
Really? Even cannabis THC, not just CBD?
No, it deals with cannabis. It's called the Hemp Initiative, but it deals with cannabis. And it would get rid of there would be, 64 took a decent step by getting rid of the felonies, getting rid of, lowering everything to misdemeanors and infractions, and then anything under an ounce is no crime. But this would get rid of all the penal codes regarding, there wouldn't be any type of violation of marijuana. I mean, the only violation there should be is you have a dangerous grow house and you didn't get your licenses and you didn't submit, you didn't get, signed off by the building department. That's the only way that it's dangerous. It's not dangerous to carry the plant around. It's not dangerous to grow the plant. It's not. There's no danger in any of that. No one's ever been killed from marijuana. Maybe if 20 pounds fell on their head. That's about it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Cannabis Detector Podcast. We're working hard to create new episodes for you every week that are informative, relevant, and highlight the lowlights in the California cannabis industry. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher, and follow us on Instagram for additional updates and to get a peek behind the scenes as we bring you the news you might not want to hear, but need to.
There's a website called theblacklist.xyz, and they're on Instagram. And they're a website where you can go on and report bad people when people get robbed or whatever. And there's been a huge uptake in robberies of Prop 215, not Prop 64, but the existing cannabis companies that couldn't get licensed if they wanted to because the black market. So, I mean, it's kind of like with the gray market. And when a dispensary got robbed, there was hesitancy to call the police because it wasn't fully regulated. You don't know what police are going to show up. But now it's the black market. No one's calling the police, and people are getting robbed left and right, leaving from these sessions. On their way out, I've heard of several where vendors on their way to their cars get robbed in the parking lot, or on their way home they're being followed and they get robbed wherever, and there's no way for them to call the police because they themselves are doing an illegal activity. And I think that's something that people don't realize, is that legalization causes a lot of crime for the black market. I mean,
that act, believe it or not, that's been going on for a while. We've warned people for years when you're coming out of these sessions, not only for robberies, but for the police. And that's actually been going on, and I assume I don't know the website, but if it shows an uptick, I mean, that does make sense. No one's going to go to the police, especially now that there really is no gray area. You're either licensed to sell or you're not licensed. That's it. There's no gray area anymore.
And it's unfortunate because 2/3 of the state is now a black market that used to be a gray market because they can't be regulated.
Yeah, nearly a third of the cities in the state of California, now more and more are coming on board. Slowly the dominoes are falling. Cities are seeing that the cities that allow it aren't going to hell in a handbasket. The sky isn't falling. So as more cities open up, I think hopefully the prices, the taxes should all get more competitive as cities fight for it, cannabis businesses, as opposed to now, a third of the 400, how many cities are there?
482 cities in the state.
With only a third of those, I mean, those cities have an upper hand right now in what they charge, and there's really nowhere else to go. And landlords fucking everybody.
Oh, my God. I just did.
Once cities open up more, then it'll be, hey, I'm going to go to that city Desert Hot Springs has a 0% tax. Santa Ana has an 8% tax. Long Beach has a 6% tax. West Sacramento has a 5% tax. I mean, so as cities open up, it'll be, hey, I'm going to go to the city with 0% or 5% or lower your tax.
Yeah, it's the free market, right?
Power.
Yeah, it's the free market evens things out. As an advisor, I tell people, don't start now. Wait a year or two. Wait for more cities to come online. Wait for the state to realize that they're insane with their regulations. The taxes are too high. It's not going to work. And within a couple years, the states will open up, and all of these companies that started at the beginning of legalization will probably have bankrupted, and then you can just buy these turnkey facilities at pennies on the dollars because these people couldn't afford to make it through all the changing regulations. And I think, right, like that's what I'm saying is this is right now, if you want to get in right now, you need millions of dollars to weather through the storm of shit changing continuously.
You're exactly right, and we see people every day who come in and they put in millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're not even operational yet. And they're paying on leases and paying on stuff without any, I mean, it's
sad.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very sad. So have you come across anybody that you've had to defend criminally that's been a part of the recreational market, that they have somehow crossed a criminal line in their pursuit of being compliant? Is that
No, not necessarily in that respect. And actually because I'm a little OCD, it's adult use.
Yes.
There's no such thing as recreational.
Got it.
But people use that term all the time, and I have to time correct and half the time I don't, but it's adult use. But
recreational is a bad stigma.
Yeah, that's true. But I'll wear my stoner shirt till I die, because guess what? We're the ones you're taking money from. So excuse me, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But yeah, I feel you.
But we do have a new case, the CHP case.
Yeah, we have a very big case. We're calling it the cannabis and cash case. Wild Rivers Transport, our client, fully licensed, permitted by the city of Eureka, licensed by the state of California, distribution company. About two months ago, they were traveling back from LA with $237,000 in cash that they picked up from a couple different places, from other licensed companies. And the CHP pulled them over for a bullshit mud flap violation that didn't even exist. Detained our clients, the two owners of the company who were in the vehicle, for 7 hours, and put them in cuffs. Then called the Department of Homeland Security to continue the investigation and turned the money over to the Department of Homeland Security.
Oh, wow.
Now we are filing a civil lawsuit for civil rights violations, an action for return of the seized funds, and a class action lawsuit against the California Highway Patrol seeking an order for injunctive relief, which will say, California Highway Patrol, if you seize cannabis or cash or any assets from a licensed cannabis business, you cannot turn it over to the federal government. They are stealing money from taxpayers of California, and they're getting around the will of Congress, which under the Warbacher-Blumenauer amendment to the spending bill says if a cannabis business is in compliance with their state law, the federal government, the Department of Justice, cannot spend any money prosecuting. And so that's why they didn't call the DEA or the FBI or the CIA. They called the Department of Homeland Security. And we think it's a big workaround and a big conspiracy, and we're going through that right now.
I'm curious, did your clients use the script? Probably not, right? Because they had a mud flap issue, right?
They actually did.
But it's a little different because you have to identify yourself as having a license and show them your credentials and they did all that. And these were just rogue, these are, rogue cops, or, the whole system's rigged for them to try to, fuck with people. And they fucked with the wrong people.
And therein lies the bullshit in the the adult use market, is that it's just smoke and mirrors, like cops are going to do what cops are going to do. Not saying all cops are bad, but you give them a badge. They're the biggest gang in the country, really. Yep. So when it comes to it, it's unfortunate that you have to say that you're a licensed whatever and that doesn't protect you. That doesn't work. I mean, what the fuck else do you have to do?
If the CHP felt there was a violation by that licensee, then they take the stuff into state custody and you go through the process. And if they violated something, they violated. If they didn't, then give us everything back. Instead of turning it over to the federal government, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's crazy. So
think about this. The Department of Homeland Security is now funding all of their bullshit immigration and everything else with seized money.
Oh, yeah. Well, you saw that arrest of all those Chinese growers or something. They said it was like the largest cannabis bust. And I'm like, well, there goes the money to fund the federal government on seizing the assets of cannabis businesses, legal ones. I mean, just wait till 280E starts kicking in and the IRS starts, sniffing around all these legacy companies.
We warned our clients.
Well, you know what I just learned today, because we refer all that kind of stuff to an expert CPA, but I learned today that the 280E only applies, now this was told to me, so I don't know for a fact, but I believe the guy who told me that 280E only applies to retail, not to the cultivators or the manufacturers or distributors.
That's interesting because, having run an edible company, and just for our listeners who don't know what 280E is, it's a tax code to penalize drug dealers, basically, saying that you cannot write off any of your business expenses, only your cost of goods sold. So it's a punishment, basically. So,
and you're admitting to federal crime, too, by filling that out.
Yeah, so it's a catch-22 because if you don't, then you're breaking the law. And if you do, then you're breaking the law and you can't get any tax back.
Is we don't know of anybody who's ever been busted, or I don't think the IRS gives a rat's ass about your business as long as they're getting their cut.
Yeah, but think of so what about all these dispensaries that have operated previous Prop 64 that could not bank because there were no banks that would take their money, or God knows they had like 7 banks shut them down. They probably didn't have an accountant because no one was counting it anyways in the first place. And then the IRS is like, oh, wait, so you've been operating for how long? And how many taxes have you paid? And then they go in and audit, and then people get fucked. I heard that happened in Colorado after they passed the adult use laws. They were like, oh, well, you guys owe us a lot of money.
Yeah, but most of our clients here in California, if they were operating prior to submitting for a new license, their prior business is in the wind.
Yeah.
No one's going to write down, because we didn't know going into Prop 64, previous to that, are they going to ask you how long have you been operating? Have you been operating? That's why we tried to have people operate as compliant as possible, but they don't care. In any of the medical adult use, it doesn't matter if you've ever done anything before the day you file your application.
Interesting. That's very interesting. So the way that the court goes on this, your settlement could have a very big effect on the industry in general, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
It's huge. It's a potential landmark case, first of its kind. It fell into our laps, so, we think it came to the right place. And with the help of our good friend and attorney, Matt Cuman, who's taken the lead, we think we're going to really put a dent in the war on drugs.
When do you think that will go to court and you'll reach
it's going to be a process. Well, right now, I believe in about a week or two, we will be filing the civil suit. We've already filed the papers to start working towards getting the money back.
You have to file, when you sue a government, you have to file what's called notice of claim, and they have 45 days to respond. And if they don't respond, it's deemed denied, and then you can file your lawsuit. So we're nearing the end of the 45 days.
Are you guys working with black market people? I guess are you criminal defense attorneys?
Yes.
Okay, so you'd work with whoever, right?
We represent individuals.
Yeah.
And individuals who are breaking the law and get arrested, need criminal defense, And then we represent businesses that have or are going for their city permit and state licenses and are not operating in the black market.
How many Prop 215 businesses, now black market businesses, have reached out to you this year that have gotten in some sort of trouble, but they're just trying to survive because their city doesn't regulate them?
A lot. And a lot of the problem is, and I'll correct you with what you said, there's no such thing as a Prop 215 business.
I know, right?
That's a big misnomer. Prop 215 is only for qualified patients to consume, possess, and grow for themselves. There was no patient-to-patient vehicle in Prop 215, which is why Senate Bill 420 and then the Attorney General guidelines came out and said if you want to have a business, it could be a not-for-profit cooperative or a not-for-profit collective. And 90% of the operations out there that call themselves collectives weren't even operating properly anyway. And what the cooperative and collective did for you, if you were operating properly with it, it gave you a defense to charges of possession, sales, cultivation, distribution, and transportation. And that defense is still in play up through January 9th, 2019, and then it goes away. And so what we have to explain to those who are operating proper cooperatives and collectives, yes, if you get busted for those crimes I just rattled off and you're doing everything right, we can defend you and we can get the case dismissed. But if you catch a misdemeanor for operating without a city permit, misdemeanor for operating without a state license, misdemeanor for operating in an area not zoned for it, and for having an illegal business, there's no defense to that, and you're done.
And essentially, you can't get any of those permits or licenses as a cannabis business anyway, so you're essentially operating illegally.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. The only way to do it here in California, you got to ultimately get the state license, then you can operate. In order to get the state license and apply for it, you have to have a city permit or authorization first. In order to apply for that city permit, you have to have property, whether leased or owned, in a zoned area.
I'm curious, do you have any Calaveras County clients? Because they got fucked big time. I did an episode about it where they did everything.
Yeah, they got
fucked.
Yeah,
and then they got everything taken from them.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why, people ask us, where should we set up our business? We don't tell you what city to go to.
Yeah, right? Because you don't know.
What you want to do and how you want to do it, but because that could happen. A city could turn around and have their vote. A county like Calaveras had their vote and banned it, and, they're going through lawsuits. We do have a couple clients who are actually being represented by Matt Cuman fighting up there. We've gotten, calls from a variety of people up there. But
I hope they win.
Me too, man.
All that money and then say, fuck you, that's bullshit. Absolutely ridiculous.
I've actually heard of at least 2 people that have taken their lives after that shit happened.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of the things, because I'm an independent advisor, I'm beholden to no one. I don't give a fuck. I'll call out anything. And at this point, people's lives are being taken by regulations that are not good for the people. It's not good for business. It's good for corporations. It's good for whoever's lobbying the local governments wherever they're at. But growers have it the hardest anyways. They're at the bottom of the supply chain. They make the least amount of money. They have a lot of money they have to put out there to start anyways. And then for them in Calaveras to just have to play by the rules, and growers are known for not trusting the law, obviously, and then to play by the rules and then to have everything taken from you, it's just sad, man. I think regulators need to know that what they're doing has deep repercussions in the community and in people's lives. More than they know.
Get out there and vote.
Oh, so true.
Die.
When is that? That's not on the ballot now, right?
No, it'll be 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Now the grassroots campaign has got to start. They've been trying to push this initiative for 30 years.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Cannabis Detector Podcast. We're working hard to create new episodes for you every week that are informative, relevant, and highlight the lowlights in the California cannabis industry. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your favorite podcatcher, and follow us on Instagram for additional updates and to get a peek behind the scenes as we bring you the news you might not want to hear, but need to.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been very negative ever since Citizens United got passed and basically democracy died and it's all owned by dark, anonymous super PACs. But voting is so fucking important, and I blame California for Trump because apparently most of us didn't vote in the federal elections, and now we look at our country. So I think it's incredibly important.
What people know is, and I can't recall, I should look it up, and I can't recall what state it was, but there was a Senate race where literally, out of thousands and thousands and thousands of people out there, there was a fucking tie. And two balls in a fucking hat determined that the Republican won by a flip of the coin.
Yeah.
So someone says their vote don't matter, one vote don't matter.
It fucking matters.
Right there, that's bullshit. You can't ever think that. And if all the stoners in fucking California would get off their ass and register and fucking vote, we could have this hands down.
Amen, brother. Amen.
If it gets more, I believe the way it works is if it gets more votes than 64 did, it would replace it. We're basically just get rid of all the onerous regulations and fees and basically open it up to a free market.
Well, I mean, you've just given me my purpose, because I used to, oh my God, dude, Bush, the years of Bush, I was like ready to just start riots. I was losing my mind. I was so political. And then Obama really was depressing. I don't feel like he was very great. That really killed my soul, but
yeah, he got something with cannabis and he didn't.
Yeah, he fucked up in lots of ways. But when it comes to Trump, dude, if that doesn't inspire you to fucking be politically active again, I don't think anything will. And just knowing that if there's any way we can do anything to stymie Prop 64, I'm fucking in, dude. I'm in so hard. Like, I don't even work with cannabis businesses because, honestly, if Prop 64 existed 12 years ago, I would have never gotten into the industry because fuck the bureaucracy. This is ridiculous. But, I mean, I still feel it in my heart for our industry. For the Prop 215 California, that's my California. We got fucked with Prop 64. So, I mean, just knowing that if there's a way out of it, dude, like I'm going to become a major vocal person in doing my part and trying to get people to vote for this because this is, we have to.
We even prior to, was it 16, they were trying to get it on the ballot, and we opened up our doors to our office, and we had voter registration cards. We had the petition for all the different counties and cities in our office and to come in and sign it. And we got a trickle. I mean, we pushed it hard. And now that was 16, so we've probably tripled our social media presence since then. But still, our social media presence is across the U.S. and the world. So how many of our followers are in California? I don't know. But we tried so hard. So if more of us get together and push it and tell these people, get fucking registered. We went to a secret sesh where we took over the sesh. This was a couple years ago, and we handed out clipboards to make people register. And then my daughter was going around with the clipboard, and there was a couple people over in the corner dabbing, and she's like, they don't want to sign. I walked over there and I read them the riot act. I said, you want to fucking sit here and do this, but you don't want to take 5 minutes to register and then vote?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. And I made them register. Whether they voted, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I hope Prop 64 is traumatic enough to wake people up. But what I saw that, look, man, I don't support anyone that voted for Prop 64 in the cannabis industry because if they didn't know what was behind it, then they're fucking stupid. And I think a lot of them knew and they were doing it for their own financial incentives. But to see the Drug Policy Alliance come in and all these other people, that's why they won. They had a ton of money. They had a lot of campaigning and information and lying to people.
Yeah, I mean, it's really sad that they had some items in there where people were, the expungements, getting out of jail, getting things reduced.
Yeah.
I mean, to tie that to 64 was kind of fucked because when people asked me, I'm like, I don't like it. I'd much rather have the CCHI proposal. But, if it didn't pass, there'd be a lot of people still in jail or not getting felonies reduced to potential misdemeanors or completely dismissed. I mean, so there was that little bit of a silver lining. And for those of us who've been around at my age, I'm 57. Shit, when I was 16 and tried to get weed, I was places I shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
It was dangerous. I could have gone to jail for a felony for a joint back then. I mean, so...
We had Prop 11, though.
It's a bad first step, but it still is a first step towards the ending of prohibition.
Yeah,
so,
I get it.
Opponent of it, I didn't like it, but...
You voted for it. I'm just kidding.
What was that?
I'm like, oh, no, you voted for it, but it's okay.
No, I actually didn't.
Okay, good. I was totally judging you.
Like I said, though, it's got there's some silver lining to it in the sense that
people get out of jail.
Well, in the sense that it was a first step. I mean, before that, we had our SB 420, we had, but we still were, it was probable cause, smell was probable cause. Now that's not probable cause anymore under 64. I mean, so there were some good to come of it as far as getting the overall public to soften their stance, so we can take that next step and get CCHI passed, and then people aren't so afraid of it now that we've made this first step.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Little self-blinding, but I agree with you 100%.
Do you know how many, because I remember, was it Prop 11 or Prop 47 that reduced a ton of felonies to misdemeanors to something else, let out a bunch of people in jail. How many people actually got out of jail because of Prop 64? I get the expungement part, and that's awesome, but did it actually get people out of jail?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Thousands.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. Well, that's good.
And now they're coming up with, there was a new bill passed where they're going to have to do it automatically.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
They have to automatically do it rather than someone filing a petition. That's been the biggest barrier, too, is people, and we've been telling people, come talk to us. It's, we can do it for you on the real cheap. You don't have to pay $3, $4, $5 grand to get a petition filed. We can help you do it almost for nothing. And just... a lot of people don't take us up on it, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I could get where you would be very weary. I mean, I see lots of people will take pleas just to avoid jail when in reality they weren't even guilty, but they were just trying to avoid something in the first place. So getting out of jail and then going and filing a petition might be like, fuck it, dude, I'm already out, But I get what people should take advantage of this while it's here, and I hope it lasts. But, I mean... I don't know, dude. I have no faith in the California government whatsoever, but I hope everyone takes advantage of this to the best because I'm going to make it my life's fucking purpose to get Prop 64 turned over.
Well, that's CCHI. We got the vehicle for it.
Awesome. I am so grateful that you guys made time to come on today. I know you're incredibly busy. And tell our listeners where they can find you, your social media, etc.
So on Instagram, it's Pot Brothers at Law, and you've got an underscore in between every word, POT_ brothers _ @_law. And we're also on Twitter, Facebook, what else? LinkedIn. I think that's where we met you, on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then I met you guys, I met you, Mark, at...
Comic-Con.
Yes, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then you can also check out our website, potbrothersatlaw.com. And if you want to reach us, our toll-free line is 855-WASLAW, WASSLAW. And make sure to also check out Cannabis Talk 101 on all platforms. We co-host the only FM radio talk show in the country that is speaking about cannabis and using it as a platform to educate. And that airs on KOCIRadio.com and 101.5 FM every Wednesday and Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And one other thing that we're doing every week on our Instagram, we go live at noon Pacific Standard Time every Thursday. We did it today just before this with our show called I Thought It Was Legal Now. And right now we're focusing on that cannabis and cash case.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to catch you guys on Instagram Live for sure. And everyone you guys have the script on your website, right?
Oh, yeah. It's everywhere.
Yeah, go find the script. Print the script out. I have your business card with the script in my phone, just in case. Cops freak me out, dude. I'm not going to lie. They fucking scare me. I'm pretty sure I would fail a sobriety test when I'm sober just because cops scare me, so...
Now, wait, just before we leave, though.
Yes.
Everybody know in California, and a lot of other states, you need to Google it, but in California, field sobriety tests are voluntary.
Good to know.
They're supposed to tell you that, but they don't.
Here, I thought that it wasn't.
No, thank you. I decline.
But then they can take a blood test, can't they? Isn't there a law that you can't deny it?
Only after they arrest you, then you have to do a blood, breath, or urine, or you lose your license for a year.
Okay.
Before they arrest you, the reason they're having you do the field sobriety test is they don't have enough to arrest you on. So don't do them. If they saw you swerving, smelled like alcohol, slurring your words, you're going to jail, and you should be going to jail. You shouldn't drive like that, especially with Uber and Lyft and shit.
Agreed.
That's my 2 cents, but don't, because like you said, if you said okay, you're going to end up going to jail because you can't do them sober. I can't do it sober.
I don't know how to do the alphabet backwards. That's crazy. By the way, okay, well, just one more thing. Have you had any clients that have gotten cannabis DUIs this year?
Yes.
So did they do like the mouth swab or something like that? Has that actually started happening?
No, they didn't stick to the script. The cop asked him, oh, what's that I smell? When did you last smoke? And they said, one guy said 8 hours ago. And they still took him in for a DUI.
And did he get the DUI?
Ultimately, no.
Good.
But
that's my fear.
The hassle would have to retain us to go fight it. So if he had just said nothing, I'm not discussing my day, the cop's going to have to make a decision. Do I give him the ticket or do I take him in for something that I'm guessing that happened? I don't know when I last smoked. He didn't tell me.
What about the blood test, though? We know cannabis is in your blood up to 30 days. Have you had someone who did the blood test and then you were, like, able to prove that that's not allowed? Like, that it could be in their blood, it doesn't mean that they're high?
So what happens there is you have to have a DRE, a drug recognition expert, and then also an expert who a medical expert who deals with what you just talked about. And what the fact of the matter is, unlike alcohol, where 0.08 in California is the presumption that you are impaired to drive, and then as a defendant you have to rebut that presumption. And oftentimes you're not able to. With cannabis, there is no nanogram count. There is no number that says you're impaired. So they can try to say, oh, he had this much in his system, but where's the impairment? And 9 times out of 10, they get the impairment because the person did the field sobriety test. Because the cop didn't see you drive impaired. You got pulled over for a red light, running a red light, or, not using your blinker, or whatever you got pulled over for. And that's not impaired driving. That's just being pulled over. And then, oh, what's that smell? Oh, you must be da-da-da-da. And then people say shit, like my brother said, oh, I smoked an hour ago. We had a case, a guy smoked 24 hours before that. And the problem is juries, depending on where you're at, they hear stuff like that. Oh, well, he must be high, must be impaired. So that's why it's ultra important to use our script and shut the fuck up, especially for cannabis users.
Super glad I covered that because I'm scared to death of the weed DUIs. I saw like January 2nd all over the highways that's like drive high, get a DUI. And I'm like,
that's ridiculous.
I'm like, how else am I going to drive, dude? I'll fucking lose my mind in traffic if I'm not high. That's all I'm saying.
And that doesn't mean you're impaired to drive.
No, I'm not impaired.
I'm sure if you thought you were impaired, you wouldn't drive.
Of course.
So that's the beauty of weed. If you're too impaired, you're going to say, I'm not going to drive. if you're drunk, you think you can drive no matter what.
Totally. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on, and thanks for being you guys and keeping shit real and saving everybody from their own stupid mistakes. Keep fighting the good fight.
Our pleasure.
Great talking to you, and, happy to do this again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe I can come to your guys' show one of these days.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Just shoot me a reminder, either email or LinkedIn, and we'll get you hooked up with our show producer.
Awesome. All right, thank you so much.
All right, take care. Thank you.
You too.
The Cannabis Detector is produced by Soil to the Oil Media.